every man and every woman is a star. Every mountain, every drop in the ocean, every living creature is made from space dust. Hundreds of tons of space dust fall on planet Earth every day. When we look at the stars, we are looking at the material which we are all made of. There are millions of galaxies in the universe, and each galaxy contains billions of stars. Many of those stars have planets. Since the dawn of mankind, the elite have lied to us. Knowledge of space was knowledge of power over mankind. By watching the stars and planets, the elite knew when the seasons would come, when the moon would eclipse the sun, when the tides would ebb and flow, when the summer would start and winter would end. Watching the sky made you wise and powerful. When the first telescopes were invented, the elite suppressed their existence and imprisoned anyone who wanted to bring knowledge of the infinite universe to mankind. The first grand lie was that planet Earth was flat. The next lie was that no other intelligent beings live in the universe. We now know that all this is lies. The most important truth is that the universe is like the ocean. It is teeming with life. Life will get a grip wherever it can. Life will evolve into any form and shape it can. Through all the centuries of lies, remember this. Your ancestors gave us a warning that mankind has been invaded by aliens many times in the past and will be invaded again in the future.
April 2003, American troops go to the National Museum of Iraq in Baghdad, and they set explosives and they blast the doors of the museum off its hinges. I heard those reports and I thought, well, this is just obviously a continuation of what was going on during the Desert Storm invasion of Iraq that was perpetrated by George Bush Sr. And now we know that there's George Bush Jr. blowing the doors off of the National Museum. So what's taken? Well, surprise, surprise. Thousands of objects are taken, and they mostly come from the Assyrian, Babylonian and Sumerian kingdoms of ancient Iraq. Some of these items are to do with the legends, the history, the Sumerian histories of the gods who came from the stars, and they have become known as the Anunnaki. $2 billion a week is being spent by the American military forces, by George Bush Jr. And it's not just museums that are being looted. Archaeological sites have been bulldozed by American military forces. What military advantage there is to bulldozing a site, I'm not sure. Obviously, there is no military objective. There is no military objective to shooting dead an old lady who's gone out one morning to buy a loaf of bread. There's no military objective whatsoever in opening fire on a market full of people selling goats. There's no military objective whatsoever in bombing children. Now, I wanted to make this film 8 years ago, and I've got lots of friends who write books about UFOs and extraterrestrials. When I told them, my idea for this film, the full idea, lots of them said, for God's sake, don't make that film, because, you're mixing up, the war in Iraq with extraterrestrials, and people aren't going to see the connection. It's going to be a very, very difficult film. So Secret Space Volume 1, which is what I made in 2005, should have been Volume 2, and this film should have been Volume 1. But basically my conviction of 8 years ago has become stronger and stronger as I've seen events unfold in Iraq. There is wholesale tracking down of people going on in Iraq by American military forces under the command of George Bush. People are being systematically hunted down, and they're being tortured and then killed. If they're really lucky, they'll just be killed.
Wounded, another Iraqi writhes on the ground. The Marines kill him, then cheer.
Like, man, these guys are dead now, but it was a good feeling. And afterwards, you're like, hell yeah, that was awesome. Let's do it again.
I've heard one report of a gentleman who was working at a local garage. Walking home from work one day, he was asked for his identity papers by an American military officer. And while he was looking in his pockets for his identity papers, the officer took out a sword. It's the first I've known that swords are being issued by the American military. And they cut his head off. This does not fit into any kind of pattern at all until you realise that they are deliberately hunting down and trying to kill certain people in Iraq because, and this is what I believe, there are the odd remnants of a bloodline that goes back to the Sumerian kingdom. And I believe that certain people, unbeknown even to those people, have within their genetic makeup remnants of a bloodline that was mixed long ago, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 years ago, with the genetic material from invading star gods. And the American military are doing their damnedest at the moment to hunt down these people and kill them, and to erase them, and therefore erase the remnants of this bloodline. Just 6 miles of atmosphere separate mankind from outer space. Roger Bannister, the man who ran the 4-minute mile, could run that distance in just 24 minutes. A rocket can travel the 6 miles from the surface of our planet into space in just 5 minutes. Once in space, everything is different. With no atmosphere, the human eye can see for literally hundreds of millions of miles. Space is not an empty vacuum. 99% of all matter exists in space. It's invisible and is called dark matter. The space around planet Earth is full of invisible radio waves. The signals from our television, radio and telephone networks travel very fast in space. Every month, planet Earth sends out 1 trillion individual radio broadcasts, which reach the planet Saturn within 11 days of leaving the surface of planet Earth. For the last 30 years, mankind has been sending small probes into space. The oldest of these probes, Voyager 1, Voyager 2 and the Pioneer probes, were launched 30 years ago and have now left the solar system. The Pioneer and Voyager probes are fitted with a gold plaque which contains a map of how to find planet Earth, a diagram of what we look like, and an audio recording from Secretary General of the United Nations, an ex-Nazi called Kurt Waldheim. This film is about the scientists and government agencies who have, throughout the ages, kept a very big secret from mankind. For the first time on film, we expose the cosmic conspiracy against mankind, the conspiracy of silence led by NASA, which keeps us all living in ignorance of the greatest revelation in human history, that we, mankind, are not alone in the universe, that within our own galaxy, thousands of life forms exist, which, like us, have the ability to build and fly craft which can travel from one planet to the other. This is the untold story of archaeologists, astronomers, astronauts, and scientists who have been airbrushed out of history because they told the truth. The truth is that planet Earth has been invaded by aliens many times in the past. Rock art preserved from thousands of years ago clearly show aliens interacting with humans and animals. Ancient legends from the Himalayas, Middle East, and Americas say that some aliens were benevolent and taught early man how to make electricity. Some aliens were neutral and just observed us. Our biblical forefathers called them the Watchers, and the hybrid human-alien offspring were called the Nephilim. Shall be called evil spirits when they come to live on earth. Evil spirits shall exude from their flesh, because they were created from a mixture of mankind and the Watchers who fly above. Himalayan legends tell of flying craft which exterminated whole regions of planet Earth using atomic weapons. Hostile aliens have invaded Earth many times, causing human civilization to crumble into dust, only to be rebuilt over thousands of years. We are not alone. We have never been alone. Having been accused of planning the 9/11 terror attacks as an inside job, and having been exposed as a long-time member of the Skull and Bones secret society with macabre rituals, George W. Bush's popularity fell to an all-time low prior to the 2004 presidential election. Bush staged a grand photo opportunity at NASA, using the American space program as a grand charade, making a speech from NASA headquarters about the future exploration of space. But the speech by George W. Bush is not about the exploration of space. It is more about the exploitation of space. the US government has weaponized space. In December 2006, Nexus magazine republished news reports which claimed that communist Chinese satellites had fired laser beams at satellites owned by the American government. Star Wars are happening right now. There are thousands of satellites in orbit. Many contain small nuclear reactors. When one of these nuclear-powered satellites falls back to Earth, it is like a silent H-bomb, depositing radioactive dust into the atmosphere. Just 1 pound of plutonium dust deposited into the Earth's atmosphere would kill all living creatures and plant life on the face of the planet. The US government presently has nearly 50 pounds of plutonium orbiting planet Earth in a range of military satellites. Shortly before his death, retired Pentagon officer Colonel Philip Corso wrote a book called The Day After Roswell. In this astounding book, he claimed that the Star Wars weapon system was placed in orbit to repel alien invaders.
For more than 50 years, the war against UFOs has continued as we try to defend ourselves against intrusion. The Hughes hunter-killer satellites of the 1970s were our first steps in deploying a planetary defense system that held any threat to the aliens. The US military has better, more accurate, and more powerful weapons for killing UFOs than were deployed in the movie Independence Day.